The Miami Dolphins have been one of the NFL's pleasant surprises this year. Coming into the season, nearly everybody, myself included, thought the Dolphins were going to be one of the absolute worst teams in the league. You looked at this team and it was just tough to see it. Ryan Tannehill, a rookie quarterback, a guy who's very raw, hasn't had much experience playing quarterback, period. Started his career at Texas A&M as a wide receiver. Now, Tannehill doesn't have much at the wide receiver position in Miami after they shipped off Brandon Marshall in the offseason. The Dolphins have one of the worst wide receiving corps in the league. And their best running back, Reggie Bush, has been mostly a third down back throughout his career. Had maybe the best season of his career last year and has continued his good play this year. But still, the Dolphins, they had an average defense last year, a rookie quarterback with not many weapons around him. A lot of people thought this team was going to be really bad. They looked really bad in their Week 1 loss to the Houston Texans. But since then, the Miami Dolphins have been playing some good football. They've won their last 2 games. They're now 3-3, all alone and second in the AFC East. They go on the road this weekend to take on their division rival New York Jets. BETDAQ currently has the Jets installed as a 1-point favorite in this game, 40.5 the total. Remember, just a few weeks ago, the Jets beat Miami in overtime down there in Miami. Dolphins could have and probably should have won that game. Their kicker, Dan Carpenter, had a chance to win that game. He missed the kick, and as we said, Jets go on to win in overtime. This is a crucial game for both teams. I mean, the AFC East, a mediocre division right now. New England on top at 4-3. Dolphins, as we mentioned, second all alone at 3-3. Jets at 3-4 after losing an overtime game to New England last week. The Jets are another team similar to the Miami Dolphins in that they're better than people thought they were going to be heading into the season. And still, as we sit here today, the Jets are better than people think they are. They're better than people are giving them credit for. All the talk about this team has been and continues to be negative. The quarterback controversy. Is Tony Sparano the right man for the job as far as the offensive coordinator position? You know, Sparano's taken some real heat for his play calling recently. When is Rex Ryan going to be fired? The defense can't stop the run anymore. Their best player, Darrelle Revis, their best defensive player, out for the season. The New York Jets are a circus that care more about publicity than winning. I mean, this is really the storylines we've heard about this New York Jets team this year. But they probably should have beat the Patriots last week, really outplayed New England for most of that game. If they had beaten the Patriots, they would be in first place all alone in the AFC East right now. And the Jets have been an excellent team to back. Despite the fact they're 3-4, they're 5-2 against the number. I think that's largely because of all the negativity. You know, there's really been so much negativity and cynicism surrounding this team ever since they acquired Tim Tebow in the offseason. A lot of people thought that was just a publicity stunt, and they haven't been using Tebow much, so maybe those people still think it's a publicity stunt. But I think a lot of that, and certainly the 34-0 home loss to San Francisco 49ers, that didn't help things in terms of public opinion of this team. But really, public opinion of this team sunk lower than the reality of what this team actually was or actually is. And that's why we see them at 5-2 against the number, despite the fact they have a losing record. Now, will they be able to beat the Dolphins at home this week? Miami's coming off a bye. We mentioned they've won their last 2 games, so playing some good football, and the Dolphins are a team that can run the ball and stop the run. 4th in the league right now in run defense. They've got a good front 7, so the Jets have had trouble running the ball this year against good run defenses. We saw them get that running game going against a couple of weeks ago against the Indianapolis Colts, and their porous run defense. I don't think it's going to be the same way against the Miami Dolphins. I expect Sean Green to have trouble finding any holes. I mean, we've seen Sean Green throughout most of his career, really. He's been a 3-yard a carry, 3.5-yard a carry guy. Again, broke out with a big game a couple of weeks ago against Indianapolis. But I'd expect another mediocre workmanlike performance from Sean Green in this game. The Dolphins are a defense where if you're going to beat them, it needs to be through the air. Their secondary has given up some big yards this year. And the Jets are healthier in the passing game than they have been really for a couple of weeks, with rookie Stephen Hill back now and Dustin Keller getting healthier as the weeks go on. But still, that Jets passing game is a big, big question mark. I know Mark Sanchez threw for a lot of yards last week. I actually think he played worse last week than he did in either of his previous 2 games, even though he threw for more yards last week than he did in the previous 2 games combined. Sanchez with some of those crippling mistakes last week that really contributed to their loss. So I don't have a lot of faith in the Jets in this spot because I don't have a lot of faith in them being able to win with the passing game. Miami has been a very solid team, very underrated. Tough to back a rookie quarterback on the road against this Rex Ryan defense. The Jets have been playing well, especially in the secondary, even though they've lost Darrelle Revis. They've been a tough defense to pass the ball against. Actually, surprisingly, the Jets have been bad against the run this year. Rex Ryan's defenses are notoriously good against the run, good in the front seven, but 30th in rush yards per game allowed right now. They're allowing opponents to rush for around 150 yards a game. And we mentioned the Dolphins, even though Reggie Bush has been somewhat of a disappointment throughout his NFL career, he's having a good year this year. A lot of that is because the Dolphins have a really good run-blocking offensive line. And it's not only been Bush, Lamar Miller, Daniel Thomas, really who's ever been in the game for the Miami Dolphins at running back has been able to produce. So the Jets' run defense will be tested this week. I'm sure that Rex Ryan and those defensive coaches have brought up more than once to this Jets defense that they're currently 30th in the league in rush defense, and Miami has a rookie quarterback. We know Miami's game plan is going to be try to run the ball on the Jets and try to stop the Jets' running game. And if they're successful at doing that, they'll probably win this game. Sitting here right now, I have a slight lean towards the New York Jets just because I think the Jets they've consistently outperformed expectations since their embarrassing 34-0 defeat against the San Francisco 49ers 3 weeks ago. So I just have a feeling, I have a gut feeling the Jets are going to be able to pull out a win here and only 1-point favorites. But I tell you what, I do not feel good about that feeling at all. As a matter of fact, I bet I like a little bit more here is the over. I know this is going to be a low-scoring game. 40.5, certainly a low total. And I wouldn't be shocked, I guess, if it went under that. But the Jets have been a little disappointing on defense this year. They've gotten it together a little over the last couple of weeks, but still, we mentioned that run defense has really struggled. And the Dolphins, even though their reputation has been a solid defense, and if you ask somebody right now, tell me about the Miami Dolphins, you'd say, a solid team, a good defense, rookie quarterback, ask them not to do too much. But when you look at the numbers, the Dolphins don't have a great defense, 20th in the league in total defense right now. They've been really bad in the secondary. We talked about they've had a good front seven, but they've allowed some big pass plays. Jets did throw for a lot of yards last week. So I think over 40.5 is probably my favorite bet of this game. But this is a tough one to call. These are two evenly matched teams, two teams with a lot of similarities. The last game they played went to overtime. Again, the Jets pulling out a 23-20 win. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another overtime scenario or something like that in this game. This should be a very close competitive game. It's a key game for both teams.